Welcome everyone. I'm Dave Bertola from National Grid, and here today it's a combination of crews from all across the Genesee region. And what we're going to do today is demonstrate for you some of the safety concerns or hazards that are involved with electricity, especially when there's a downed wire in your town. Oftentimes, when we distribute a news release before or during a storm, we'll include the language that says, keep away from a downed wire. And oftentimes it stops there. What we're going to see today is a demonstration that illustrates what those dangers are. You're going to see, you're going to be able to hear what exactly it is we're talking about. So we're grateful that you came out. We're going to turn it over to Ben Williams here from our Avon crew.
That's all right.
These guys have been doing this a long time. We've had similar demonstrations from across the region in recent weeks. And Ben, why don't you start with showing everybody what happens when a tree limb hits a wire. Ice and tree limbs are two of our worst enemies during a storm. Why don't you demonstrate for us what happens?
So obviously a lot of times during a wind event, a tree will uproot or a tree will break. Obviously that's very bad for our stuff. So, a lot of our wires run through trees, through woods. So it's just very crucial that if you do see a downed tree, stay away from it, call 911. Just because you don't see a blue spark coming from that tree doesn't mean it's not energized. Trees have a very deep root system and they're full of water, so they're a very good conductor. They conduct electricity very well. So with this demonstration here, Jared's going to show you what could happen with a tree on the wire. Obviously here you will see the nice blue arc. Like I said, just because it's not arcing does not mean it's not energized. It's a little windy out here, so our arcs aren't going to be as impressive as if we were indoors. The wind kind of snuffs it out, but like I said, this tree is obviously becoming a path to ground. It's going phase to ground right now, and that's what's causing that arc. You never want to become a path to ground for electricity.
Thanks, Ben. And if that line comes down, it can make contact with things like a fence. I know in the city of Buffalo, the town of Amherst, we have a lot of fences that run through people's backyards, and we have a lot of what we call backyard service, where a lot of this equipment is prevalent. Why don't you show us what happens when a section of fence gets electrified, and the things that we need to keep in mind with some of these metal fences.
So this next demonstration, obviously we have some coax cable. Now coax cables for Spectrum, Frontier, whatever it may be, providing your internet, phone services in your home. So with this demonstration, we take that piece of coax cable, take it up to our phase that's energized at 4,800 volts. And that's going to heat up this fence. I don't know if you can see, but that coax is wrapped around the fence. So once they put the coax, oh, you don't even got to do that, Jared. You'll just heat it up with the coax. And then you take the grounded hot dog. So we're going to take this coax, we're going to touch it to our live primary, 4,800 volts. And like I said, it's wrapped around that fence. So with that fence will become energized. And Joe will have the other stick, and he'll have a hot dog in it. The hot dog represents an extremity, hand, whatever it may be. You will be grounded, walking on Earth, and going up and touching that fence. And with this, we like to do it with the coax cable to just orchestrate that. You don't know what's happening 4 poles away. That coax cable can be wrapped around our primary, energized. And you walking up to your fence, you think, oh, it's just Spectrum, it's cable, you will just see that when that coax is energized on that fence, the arc that it'll draw. And like I said, you are now becoming that path to ground for electricity. You guys good?
Yeah.
Alright, so like I said, they're going to touch this piece of coax cable through our primary. You'll hear it buzzing. It'll energize that fence, and Joe here will be the path to ground. So for our next demonstration, we have a piece of coax cable, and this is to go with downed wire. A lot of times people see a downed wire and they're looking at it and I go, oh, it's Spectrum, it's Verizon, it's Frontier. So this demonstration, we like to think of it, say 4 poles away where you can't see, that piece of coax cable is wrapped around our primary, energizing it, and it's now down in your backyard, wrapped around your chain link fence. So with this, they're going to take that piece of coax, which is over here to the left. They will touch that to our primary wire, energizing it at 4,800 volts. And then Joe here has a hot dog, and that's going to be, you're grounded. You're walking on ground, walking up and just grabbing a hold of your fence. And this will draw a nice big arc. Obviously, the hot dog becoming the path to ground for that electricity to flow. So go ahead, guys. So like I said, as you can see, Jared's touching that primary with the coax cable, and Joe's walking up, and Joe's that path to ground. You're grounded when you're standing on Earth. So just because you think, oh, it's coax cable, it's safe, that's not the case. You don't know what it is 4 poles away, 10 poles away. If it's wrapped around our primary, it could be conducted and have electricity flowing through it. So just stay away from whatever down wires you may come across. Call 911. 911 will contact your utility. For us being National Grid, and we'll respond as soon as possible.
That's great. Thanks, Simon. Sometimes the fence being electrified, sometimes the ground also could be electrified, and people think, well, I'm wearing rubber boots, I should be safe from that. But we know in our industry that couldn't be further from the truth. Isn't that correct?
So to add to that, yes, just because you're wearing rubber muck boots, they do not have any electrical value. You see the boots that these guys are wearing. These boots are rated for 20,000 volts. National Grid buys them for us for when we are walking in backyards, and if there is a downed wire, when you get into that step potential where we're isolated from that wearing those boots. You wearing boots that say, oh, they're EH rated, they're electrically hazard rated, they're not rated for voltages like this. They'll be rated for much less voltage, your 120, your common residential voltages. These are rated for high voltage. So that's what keeps us safe when we are walking in backyards. Before we get there, we don't necessarily know that the wire's down. We don't know until we get out there. So we wear all of our proper protective equipment, and that is one of the things that we do wear when we are dealing with downed wire. So for our next demonstration, we have a fireman's boot, and with this, so I know it's a toolbox, but this represents Earth. It's a toolbox full of dirt right now, but this represents Earth. So with this demonstration, say there was a wire down and that ground is energized, that electricity is flowing through the ground, and you walk up to it, this will kind of show you the step potential, you being grounded, you stepping on the energized ground. So Joe has a nice fireman's boot here, and he'll kind of try to walk it across our ground. Like I said, it is a toolbox, but it represents ground. So as you can see there, he's becoming a path to ground for that electricity. Step potential, step potential gets into things where, say you're on a piece of equipment and you get it energized, you put it into our energized primary. We always say the best thing to do is to stay on that piece of equipment. If for some reason you're in imminent danger and you have to get off that piece of equipment, step potential, there's 5,000 volts right here. And how we describe step potential is you take a bullseye, you take a target. So the red being the very center, that's where that piece of equipment is touching. The next ring out, there might be, let's say there's 5,000 volts right there where the equipment's touching. That next ring could have 4,000 volts. And when you step from ring to ring, you will have 1,000 volts go through your body. So step potential is huge. If you're in your vehicle and there's down wires on it, you stay in your vehicle until we can respond. If, like I said, if it's imminent danger, you have to get off of it. To do that, what you will do is you will jump off said piece of equipment, land on both feet. You will either hop like a bunny, or you will shuffle your feet without lifting them off the ground. And I get a lot of questions. Well, how far should I do that? There's a lot of factors. How much moisture's in the ground, all sorts of stuff. So what I say is as far as you can, a couple hundred feet, and then take a normal step. There's too many factors to determine how far that step potential can be, but like I said, just get as far away as possible, stay in the vehicle, stay on the piece of equipment as long as you can until we get there. Call 911. 911 will reach us much faster than you can. We will get there as soon as possible.
Thanks, Ben. And lastly, we know a lot of customers have generators at their homes, and they like to turn them on when there's an outage, so they can enjoy some of the comforts of home while they're awaiting to have their service restored. What are some of the tips, some of the right things to consider when connecting your generator during an outage?
So first of all, if you have if you have a professional company come in and install a Generac or whatever other brands there are, they will have automatic transfer switches. They will sense when there's no voltage coming in at your meter, and then they will kick on and provide you the electricity you need. There's back ways of installing generators. Obviously, we recommend if you are using a portable generator that obviously you use it outdoors and you plug in whatever appliances or whatever it may be that you want to have electricity still, plug them in directly into the generator. For here in this demonstration, we have an 1800 watt Harbor Freight generator. And what we're going to do is we're going to show you the improper way of actually installing a generator. This is not up to code. It's, like I said, it's very improper, but can it be done? Yes. Proper way? No. So what we have here, like I said, that 1800 watt generator, we'll turn that on. We're going to show you that there's 0 volts on our primary. And then we're going to show you how when you wire a generator, say you run it right into your panel box, and if you do not turn your main breaker off, you're actually backfeeding through your panel box, through your meter channel, up into that transformer, and that transformer is taking that 120, 240 volts, and it's actually stepping it up to 4,900 volts, you will see. And if you guys get a close-up, you'll see it on the phaser. So just go ahead, show them 0 volts on there now. Actually, you can turn the generator on and show them the 0 volts, and then we'll turn that breaker on. Well, like I said, if you do install a generator this way, you have to be sure to open your main breaker before you turn it on, or else you will backfeed. Turn the gas on. So as you can see, the generator's running, right? We're going to go ahead and put that phaser up there. You can see if you zoom in, it's got 0.0. There's 0 volts flowing on that wire. Go ahead and so here we have this generator wired improperly right through the panel box. From this panel box, like I said, it goes into the meter channel, up out of your weatherhead, up into this transformer. This transformer will actually step that 120, 240 volts up to 4,900. Zoom in, it says 4.9. It's obviously PV, so it's 4,900 volts. This can be very potentially dangerous for us linemen working on these lines. And also, you don't know what's going on 10 poles away. If your neighbor's kids are out there playing and you don't understand that there's a down conductor in their yard and you're now backfeeding this type of voltage onto the system and it kills somebody and the kids in the backyard playing, it'll be hard to live with. So like I said, if you are going to wire a generator this way, ensure that your main breaker is off. If your main breaker is off, that electricity stops there. It'll keep your house energized, it won't go any farther. If your main breaker is on, it'll backfeed through that process and energize our lines and our equipment.
Well, thanks for that. Thanks very much. Thanks, guys. We really appreciate it. Any other any questions anybody may have? I'm going to probably need your help here with to get technical.
No, it's all right.
So.
What was the term you used before?
Step potential?
Step potential.
Step potential.
Yes. Could you explain that again, though?
So step potential. The best way for me to give you a visual picture is if you take an actual target. So that center of that target. So say you're in an excavator and you happen to put the boom into one of our energized phases. That excavator is now energized at that voltage. So let's use 5,000 volts for instance. So right there at the center, the red in that bullseye of that target, you now have 5,000 volts. Now around the target you have rings. So as you go from that bullseye to that next ring, the electricity disperses, in this step potential. It gets lower and lower as you get away from that equipment. But if there is 5,000 volts on the equipment and you step off of it and you're in the next ring of that target, and say it's 4,000 volts, you will have the difference between 4,000 and 5,000 is 1,000. So you'll have 1,000 volts flowing through your body as soon as you step off. So same thing as if you're trying to get out of a car. You open your car door, your car's energized at 5,000 volts, and it's 4,000 volts at the ground right next to your car. As soon as you put your foot out, 1,000 volts is going to flow through your legs into your body. So that is step potential. Step potential is very huge. Like I said, we always advise you stay in that car, you stay in that piece of equipment if the equipment or the car bursts into flames and you obviously have to get away, you will, you will jump off of that piece of equipment, keeping your balance, landing on both feet, and you will hop like a bunny, or you will take steps where you do not lift your feet off the ground. It's kind of hard to do on the pavement, and a lot of questions I get asked is, well, how far do I have to do that? And there's a lot of factors: the moisture in the ground, the moisture in the air, how much actual electricity is flowing through that. So I always just say a couple hundred feet. You know, it's going to take you a while. Take your time, because if you lose your balance, or say you jump off a excavator, a bulldozer, and you land on your feet, but then you land on your arms, there's your step potential. You're going to have that voltage going into your arms, into your body, out your feet. Step potential is huge. Like I said, if you ever are get trapped, call 911. They will contact us immediately, and we will get there as soon as possible to make it safe for you to exit that vehicle, that piece of equipment, or whatever it may be.
Okay, thanks.